Hello, welcome to page 4 of Streamed of Consciousness. Let's drag our template into the canvas. So as I said, this is page 4 for Streamed of Consciousness. I'm doing a stream of doing a comic book page, pretty much from beginning to end, depending on how much time I've got. Sometimes I do a little bit of work off camera, finish things up. Let's look at page 3, see where we're going to have to go. So in this page, we've got Audrey looking pretty dismayed at some ideas Dad has about what might be through this weird cave door. And he takes that as her looking convinced, grabs her by the hand. They run into this long cavernous doorway, and then there's some sort of weird creature looking on in the foreground. So we've got to continue this. Let's get to page 4. And so I took yesterday off from streaming. I kept thinking about doing it. What's funny is yesterday was my an actual day off from my day job. And what I did was I actually ended up pretty much taking a day off from everything. I drew a little bit. In my iPad. I'm actually working on another kind of stream of consciousness story that's private for the most part on my iPad. I mean, I am going to publish it, but I'm just not doing it like this so publicly. And I worked on that a little bit. Shot a video for Comics in the Making with Levi. And then other than that, I took it pretty easy. I felt a little worn out, to be honest with you. Yesterday was my first day in well over a week where I didn't have anything like super planned. The past weekend before this, I think I talked about it in the last video, maybe a few videos, but I was at Eddie Pecan in the Pittsburgh area, and for getting there, of course, I left late Friday afternoon, and then Saturday was a show, and then Sunday we were driving back. And so even though these were all like technically days off for me, they sure didn't feel like it. I've really gotten to the point too that even though comics and art is not my main source of income, I still treat it very much like a job. And which I think is part of the reason I kind of yesterday I kind of crashed, took it easy for a little bit, because I mean I got back from that short trip, and then immediately it was like Monday I started this project. So I was like messing around with streaming and doing that. And So I've been drawing a bunch and kind of going nonstop for several weeks. So I deserved a break. I took it. So the only panel on here that I really knew what I wanted to do for sure is the one I'm drawing right now, obviously this first one. So that last panel where we left off on page 3, we saw that humanoid figure in the foreground watching Audrey and Dad walk down the hall. So we know they've gotten down the hall. So in this panel here, I'm going to show where they're at in the hallway. So I think that'll look good having Audrey. Audrey's kind of looking to the left. We're going to have Dad looking to the right. And I think part of the other reason I took yesterday off is I've actually been thinking about this project a bunch. And I think it was making me anxious. Because I've mentioned before, this whole trying this is about let's get way out of my comfort zone. My comfort zone is working privately, drawing privately. Once something is done, releasing it publicly, and I'm used to that. I am not used to creating publicly. And I'm also not used to creating spur of the moment like this, where I really don't have a plan. And so I had some ideas for everything going forward, and then I had to kind of like stop myself and go, well, how much ahead do I really want to think about this? Because it's really supposed to be a day-to-day thing. And also, I want it to get really weird. I want to embrace all the different places that doing something like this could go. So if they're about there, I think I'm gonna separate them a little bit more so we can see the entrance here in the background. Let's see. there. Let's move him over here. Okay, so this is definitely where I want this tier. What could they be saying? This is also kind of going back on what I'd been talking about before about getting the dialogue all ready first, but since I have no idea, I'm almost doing this Marvel method with myself. If you don't know, Marvel method is kind of where the writer would give the penciler just loose plot, and then he'd go out there and he'd stretch that out over the 20 pages, and then the writer would go back and put in all the dialogue and narration and whatever. Mm. I'm thinking I actually maybe don't want Audrey looking as freaked out as she is here. What I was thinking about, so they have no light or anything, so it should be really dark in here. What if there were like these cool like glowing designs or something on these cave walls? Which are keeping this from being completely in the dark. Maybe let's, because of that, I want to put this entrance way back further. So pretty much this whole area, what I'll do is when I go back and ink it, this will all be black, and then I'll be just drawing all of this in white, other than the characters. Okay, so let's have Audrey saying, what are all these symbols? Actually, I'm gonna bring that R. Oh, come on. So what are all these symbols? Dad in this one says no idea. And then in the next one, I want to have, if they're glowing, I want to have Dad addressing that they're glowing. So they look like they're glowing. Okay. I think I've got a cool idea. I was kind of thinking about this earlier, but I've been going back and forth. So we've got these two panels that kind of in this page off. Let's introduce somebody. So we're already kind of getting into this weird. I imagine when I see like weird symbols like painted on caves and they're glowing, I'm thinking of some sort of occult or magical ritual or something going on. Uh, let's have somebody saying "help me" in the second panel that we don't see off panel, and then in this last panel, uh, you'll be able to see them maybe like a little far off in the distance. Somebody asking for help. Maybe we'll have Audrey and Dad in the foreground on this last panel, just the back of their heads, because I love drawing that angle. And we won't get a real good view of them. Yeah. Okay, so. Oh. No, I don't want this to be part. There we go. Because they're saying help. I'm going to put a question mark there. And then down here, please help me. Now I think I want to make this help. Let's make it a little smaller. Because I want it to be whoever is asking for the help. Making that font smaller is making it seem like they're meek or in distress. Alright, let's get the word balloons. using Curve Balloon and Clip Studio for these. That actually looks good. I'm not going to go and... A lot of times if you watch me make the other word balloons, I go in there and I have to adjust a little bit. The first one I got right. This one really would have passed, but I'm going to mess around with it a little bit. So another thing I like to do when I'm trying to make someone sound faint, because of course in comics there's no real sound. I always like it when people, I mean, and I do too. I think it's what it shows how powerful comics are. But comics that have no dialogue, that are all just image based. One of my favorites, which this might actually have some kind of aspects of as we go. I'm thinking about it. One of my favorite comics with zero dialogue is Brian Ralph's book, Cave In. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. If you've never read it, which again, no dialogue, but if you haven't, seek it out. Unfortunately, I don't think it's in print anymore. But Brian has done a bunch of comics with no dialogue, and they're great. But Cave In was kind of his first real big main published work. He did a bunch of zines and self published work under the Fireball title, and I have one of them. I had traded with them at the SPX way back in 1998. I think would have been the year I got it. Anyway, what I was saying is, when people talk about comics like that with no dialogue, they call them silent comics. Which, all comics are silent. They're all silent. And I think that just shows how powerful the medium of comics is, that just not having dialogue would make someone go, oh, these are silent comics. Because people are hearing those, they're hearing the dialogue in their head, and it's registering as noise. I'm trying to decide if I'm actually. I guess I'm. I think I'm just gonna kind of wing these symbols. I'm afraid they're gonna come off like. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but some of the like symbols and designs of the Disney cartoon Atlantis, which I love. one of my favorite one of my favorite Disney cartoons. You're going to put this, yeah. I'm going to put this question mark balloon above this. I think it'll almost make that help dialogue look even more weak. So Dad's going to be spinning around when he hears that help, but I still want him in the same, so it'll be like his head spinning. So I'm going to try and do like that. I think this actually needs to go up a little bit. Okay. One more panel to pencil. As I was doing this, I was thinking about bringing the tail for this help down to this please help me to kind of tie that together. I've done that before. I did it in the Speaking Skull story. I think I did. So, all right, well, let's not worry about that right now. Let's get the backs of their heads first. Real fast sketches here. And that's the thing I was thinking about yesterday with this story also was to keep me interested. And that's the thing. I think it's readers can tell when the creator is having a good time. And if I was going to start getting like super bogged down in is this story going to make sense, which is not necessarily the point of this project. I kind of the goal should be let's embrace something like really weird. So and then for me to really enjoy it, then I really need to enjoy drawing it. And I think to enjoy drawing it. It means this story needs to like really go at this like weird fast clip. And so we've gotten, very little. I mean, it's like, hey, there's a door. Here's some reasons we should go in the door. We're going in the door. Now we're in the door. Oh, there's weird symbols. There was this thing looking at us that we didn't see. Oh, now there's someone asking for help. And it's got to be something like, I don't want to have a lot of pages where it's like setup. I just want like it's just from thing to thing to thing to thing, just real fast. And really, I mean, the last page 3, that was my longest stream at like an hour and 40 minutes or whatever. And so these pages are not. That's not a long time for getting a page done. So I guess my point is there doesn't have to have we don't have to have a lot of exposition and all this. And I hate exposition anyway. I like stuff where we just get thrown right into a story. I guess one exception for me might be the Star Wars crawls. I guess you could call those exposition. But again, they throw you into a story. So I think it's done well. This is not a position I draw a lot. I want it to look like he's in tatters, so we've got him in robes and stuff. I think this works good, but I think he's too close to them. So let's bring him back. Yep. Looks good. Let's get a rough background going. Now, one thing I want to think about for these symbols is I'm going for a real old school look on this so far. And it would be real easy for me to do it'd be real easy for me to put an effect on here, like a glow effect, that's going to make them look like they're glowing. But if I'm going for this old school look, I think I've got to be careful with that. So I'm not 100% that I'm gonna do that. All right, so let's start inking. How far are we in? 35 minutes. 35 minutes, and here we are inking. So it makes me feel a lot better because, like I said, I was really like, man, I don't know where I'm gonna go with this. And then, I mean, I'm always like that for these pages. I mean, the first two pages, I knew where we were going, and even the last page, page three, I had a fairly good idea. This one, all I knew was the first panel. Okay. Start inking. You know, before I think because she's mentioning the symbols, let's have her. Let's have her pointing. That'll work. Time to ink. Right. So, thought I'd mention I am wearing. Well, I've been wearing this hat all week. I think this is my new go-to hat. This is the see that has the Flatwoods monster, and I'm actually wearing Flatwoods uh, monster T-shirt today too. On our way back from Pittsburgh, we were going right past Sutton, West Virginia, which is where the Flatwoods Monster Museum is. If you don't know, the Flatwoods Monster was an incident in the 50s. I believe it was even. I think it was investigated in Project Blue Book, which I actually have a copy of Project Blue Book. So I'll have to dig that up and kind of look at it. But anyway, it was an incident in the 50s. Almost kind of your classic like B movie, sci-fi B movie start, where a UFO lands or crashes maybe, and these people see a weird creature in the forest. But also the reality of the situation is, you know, some of I think they were it was a mother and her two sons. I think they were brothers. Um, at least no, they were. I'm pretty sure they were related at least. Um, it's been a while since I've really read up on it, but I believe the mother had some serious like health effects afterwards. Um, from coming in contact with this thing, or maybe even being close to the supposed spaceship or whatever. Mm. Who knows what it was? But I'm always really interested in um, weird paranormal stuff, and you know, monster sightings, and UFOs, ghosts. I eat all of that stuff up. I consider myself an open-minded skeptic. And I think the important part is being open-minded. I think there's always people involved in this stuff that are really closed-minded on both sides. Um, whether it's people being interested in ghosts or whatever, always acting like, oh, I know everything. This is how ghosts work and stuff like that, and that's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. We have no idea how that shit works. Um, but you get people doing that all the time. But anyway, the Flatwoods Monster, they got a museum. It's in Sutton, West Virginia. It's a place I'd always wanted to go to before I'd been to the Mothman Museum in West Virginia, which is really on the other side. I mean, it's right across the river from Ohio. And so I'd been there a couple times. And I did not want to miss the opportunity to go to the Flatwoods Museum. So I got a hat and obviously and a shirt and gave me a poster too, which I've got hanging on the wall. I think if you can see that. But it's a really cool place. And Braxton County, which is the county it's in, it seems like it's really embraced the weirdness. They've got a festival there, and I've seen them. I've seen them advertising like on Small Town Monsters and stuff like that. So I think that's good. I think that's good for like a small community to do that stuff, especially in West Virginia, which economically is not super great. Take what you can get. But it was a really cool town. Very quiet. We saw very few people. At times, you almost think it was abandoned. But it was fun getting a walk around there. We had to waste a little bit of time when we pulled up to the museum. It had a sign that said, "We'll be right back." I guess the person running it was probably going to the bathroom or something. I don't know. I didn't ask. I didn't care. So we just walked around the town a little bit. Acted like tourists. Took some pictures. They had a Bigfoot museum there too, but it was closed on Sundays. Mm. This might look a little off. I'm going to finish this arm and see. There. Okay. Nah, I think it looks better. Like it'll be fine. Okay, so I don't really want to start the symbols until they're really getting close to them here. I'm going to keep this all in the same layer. Yep. Alright, so let's finish the characters up first. I don't know if I like. There we go. Looks a little better. And I definitely want to add some shading here and there, because I mean, even if these symbols are going to be glowing, it's still going to be dark. All right. I'm thinking I might keep this here pretty abstract, actually. What I'm going to do right here is just add some lines kind of for the reference. Just maybe do a few lines here to show where the ceiling is, but not a huge amount. I think the vast majority of the light that would be coming from this doorway would be hitting the ground here. Alright, so what are these symbols going to look like? I do want to have them kind of go with the wall of the cave. You know what? Before I commit to that, I am gonna, let's just make that black. All right, let's make a layer above it. I want to try something. So if I were gonna make these really look like they were glowing, I'm gonna try this with a kind of glow effect. Before I do that, I want to fix Audrey's shirt here. Ugh. Alright, that looks good. Okay, so got this layer here. I think we change that to add glow. And then we're going to go to an airbrush, and we want this to be pretty. Oh, yeah. And we need to change that to white. don't know if that's glowing enough. Let's see, what else could we add? Overlay, maybe? Oh god, no, that doesn't work at all. That was stupid. Hard light? Ugh, I went back to... Nope, glow dodge doesn't work. Screen, maybe? Screen might work. I want to reset. I know usually when I've done glow... The problem is usually when I do glow stuff, I'm doing it in color. Yep, I hate this. Nope. Nope. Can't do it. Just it does not look right. Doesn't look right. We're going back to what I was doing. That's why, that's why we've got the panel saying it looks like they're glowing. So, so when people are reading it, they'll go, "Oh, this is glowing." Now I might be able to. Now what I could do. Now we'll try this. What I could do is add some airbrushing underneath it in like an eraser. That might give more of a glowing look. But I don't think it'll matter too much. Yeah, I like that. That works. It's good enough. I'll do pig. Alright, what's gonna be on this side? Have it a little different. You know what? I want also... I think I'm gonna have him looking... There we go. That looks better. Having Dad looking more to the right than up and to the right. I'm just making these up as I go. I like to do weird, fun design symbols like this. I remember I was working on a weird... I never finished it. I used elements of this digital painting that I had been working on. And I ended up using like a small part of it for a page of things. which was a project I was doing, but I was working on this big canvas, and it was like all the characters in there, and it had like Audrey and Dad were there, and then I had a bunch of like mad scientist characters, and they were in this like kind of space station sort of command center, and there were screens everywhere, which I think it was one of the screens that I used. It was one of the screens that I used for a page of things. Um, but in the background, I had all this just glowing circuits and weird sci-fi looking stuff, and it was kind of like what I'm drawing right now. It was different, but it was similar. But it's just stuff I can just get lost in. Yeah, I don't want them going back too much further. These symbols, because I want it to be like, oh, they're just now kind of seeing them and commenting on them. Yeah, I like the way that looks. Let's get these balloon tails that I just forgot to turn on. There we go. Don't like that. That's good enough, I guess. I don't like straight on balloon tails. I like them having a little bit of a curve. I think it makes them look more natural. All right. Let's see, what else did I do yesterday? Oh, I had to run some errands. Well, I only had to run one errand. I had to go get an oil change. And I went and got an oil change. That was super exciting. And then came home. That's the thing. I came home, and that's kind of when I kept going. I kept going back and forth on streaming or not yesterday. And then my daughter talked me into picking her up from school, which meant it was going to leave for a real tight stream. So I was like, well, that kind of solves that. So I went and picked her up from school, and we went and got a bite to eat. And oh yeah, and I watched the first 3 episodes of the new Lord of the Rings show. Well, first 3 episodes of the second season. I watched all of the first season. I felt very about it. I thought it was okay. I love the Lord of the Rings movies. Um, and I like The Hobbit. The movies aren't nearly as good for The Hobbit, but they're still fun. They're just way too long. I don't think Peter Jackson can really make a short movie to save his life. Um, and but I still appreciate him. I love fantasy stuff. I've thought about doing fantasy comics before. Um, I just never have. Maybe one day, one day, maybe I will. But I put a lot of fantasy elements into Slackmatic, even though it takes place in more of a uh, present or modern era. There are certainly lots of elements of um, fantasy. Um, so I love that kind of stuff. I've tried to read Lord of the Rings 3 or 4 times, and I just always hit a point where I'm like, nah, and I just can't do it. I just can't. I've tried. I don't know why I can't. I don't know. They're for me, and this is a hot take for me. The movies are more enjoyable than those books. I understand what J.R.R. Tolkien did. Um, he's clearly a master of fantasy. We would not have what when we think of fantasy realms and Dungeons and Dragons and all of that stuff. That is all Tolkien. I get it. He was a master builder. But I think when it comes to just straightforward storytelling, maybe not so much. but but anyway, but I loved the Lord of the Rings movies. So I was super hesitant about the TV show. I watched all the first season. I felt very about it. Um, it just did not feel like. It just didn't necessarily feel like Lord of the Rings to me somehow. And I guess if I'm being fair, it just didn't feel like the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings. But looking back on it, there's so many silly dialogue choices and stuff like that in the original Lord of the Rings. Me and my friends joke. I mean, it's like the best movies. Like you love them, um, that you can also like make fun of all the way through. Um, but yeah, watch the first 3 episodes of the new season. They released 3 all at once for Rings of Power, and I'm gonna keep watching it. I can't say I was overly impressed. it seemed like they were kind of already retconning some of season one, and like I said, I've not read a whole lot of Tolkien. So a lot of the information I've been getting on Tolkien, I've been watching Nerd of the Rings, which is a YouTube channel, great YouTube channel on everything Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, and um, so I get a lot of my Tolkien information from there, and he just talks about how like they've already in the books the Elven rings were made last, and in the show they made them first. And yeah, I don't know why they did that. Like I think it's fine when TV and movies are so different from book from book. TV different from book. They're so they're it's just such a different form of media. So a lot of times when people complain about the book is better and stuff like that, uh, like I get why people have to change a movie for pacing and stuff like that. I mean, you just a movie going audience, a TV audience, they're and especially nowadays, their patience level is not the same as a book reading audience. It's just a different form of storytelling in media. So I understand why people or directors and writers and stuff they have to change things sometimes. I'm not quite sure what the motivation was on making the Elvish rings first in this show. Based on what I've learned from Nerd of the Rings, and yeah, I'm not sure why they did that. And it almost seems like them coming into the second season, they're like, "Crap, why did we do that?" It just seems like some retconning, and just I don't know, kind of baffling, uh, kind of baffling for the most expensive TV show I think ever made. But again, writing stories, this kind of stuff, it's hard to do. I will always give movies and TV shows and stuff, and trust me, I will complain about bad storytelling and stuff like that, but it's hard to make a good one. It's hard. And I think a lot of it is it's hard when you've got that many people working on something. That's why for my work, I like to pretty much work alone. There we go. One more panel. One more panel left. What are we at? Hour and 10 minutes. Oh, I've already got way too many panels in the story with characters in a back 2/3 perspective view. I'm trying to think. Let's see. Page 1 we had one. Page 3 and now page 4. Yeah. Mm. See, Dad's position in these two panels are almost identical. It almost makes me want to change it, but I'm not gonna. Because we've got to get on with this story. Shit. There. Some shading going there. Let's finish the beard. That's the thing with all these, the black areas and stuff. A lot of the hair and everything, all of that gets done with cutting into the black. And then I don't really like doing the shading on the hair until I've got that part done. Because it'll end up coming out looking weird. At least to me. Let's see. I'm just gonna do some ideas. Does Audrey's head look weird there? I'm gonna see how it looks once I black everything in. Alright, so let's draw this guy. Let's talk a little bit about the look I've had for this guy right now. Now, he's gonna be hard to see, and I'm not changing my my brush size or doing a different brush. We're gonna stick with this. But giving him this triangle hat. And this triangle hat is a direct reference to everyone's favorite occultist, Aleister Crowley. So, I'm not saying this is Aleister Crowley, but this is kind of going to be like my. Well, like I said, I don't know. I just kind of I felt like with all the markings and everything, we're going kind of arcane magic, some occult stuff. I figured, hey, let's throw in this. So I'm gonna assume that this guy is gonna be a bit of a bad actor. Alright, so let's start cutting in. I was kind of doing this shading on Dad's back here. Continue that a little more. Let's get his hair. Man, one thing I've noticed after doing these streams is my wrist and hands hurt a little more than they normally do when I'm drawing. Um, I mean, I've done as much as I think, geesh, 7 or 8 pages in a day before. Um, Kind of depending on what I'm trying to get done. But when I'm saying that 7 to 8 pages, it's really like um, 7 to 8 pages of inking done. When I get to that point, because again, this is new for me, like what I'm doing right now, doing everything all at once. Typically, when I'm doing that many pages in a day, I've already got everything's penciled. Or if I'm penciling that many pages in a day, everything's already written. And for this, doing everything as I go, um, I don't know. I guess it's just I guess it's just a little more strenuous on my wrist and hands. So I'm just laying down some. I mean, I'm not gonna take most of this stuff out. It's gonna stay, but just laying down some lines for guides for the floor. I'm doing my thing where I'm looking over at my laptop screen. I do that a lot just to reference because it's smaller. All right, so let's get some real quick kind of curved guidelines for the sides of these walls. I have to put the symbols in, and the symbols, I would imagine, they're going to be going all the way down. So that's going to be fun. I am going to have to add some screen tones. There we go. We're going to have to add some screen tones. I think I had them on the pants, right? Yep. And then the pizza symbol on Dad's shirt. I also had them. But let's get these let's get the symbols drawn on the side here. I'm given some kind of space between the characters. They're not going like, I want to make sure they don't go directly into like that white of his back. The only thing I do get nervous when I'm just making up all these symbols and stuff that I'm accidentally gonna, make some symbols that are actually real. someone's gonna go, I can't believe you used that, or something like that. So, just letting you know, if I do, it is completely unintentional. I am making these up as I go. I've been using this spiral kind of stuff a lot in these. So maybe that is something we come back to as the story progresses. Again, I want this to be fun to draw. I want to keep it, it moving at a quick clip. I don't want to have it, and that's the other thing too. Like trying to talk over um, a lot of what I'm doing. If I'm having to think a whole lot about dialogue and everything, um, that's not necessarily going to be very interesting. I don't know. Maybe it would be. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. We'll see when we get to that point. But maybe it'll be, if I've got a page that's like going to be real dialogue heavy, that might be something I have to do a little off camera and go, okay, here's what we're going to do for this. More designs. Really just eyeballing this to make it look like it's kind of working in perspective as going down these hallways. I think it worked. Seems like it worked on Dad's side. Audrey's a little shorter, so I've got to gotta draw more. This almost looks like a monster face. Just drew in there, although there's probably all sorts of weird stuff that I'm not seeing. I'm like it. I mean, it's fun. I'm drawing it, but this is all just, I don't know. It's like automatic drawing. I'm not thinking about it too much. Obviously, a little bit, but it's not. I'm not super concerned. But again, when you, I think as we're doing this kind of stream of consciousness, I'll go back and I'll look at these things and these clues I've left for myself almost to say, oh, let's go from there. Oh, I missed that. Let's think about this. We can bring this back. That weird humanoid thing we had on page 3 looking on. When's that even going to come into play? Does it come into play? Do we just leave it alone altogether? I don't think so. I don't think I could do that. I'm sure we'll bring it in. Yeah. All right. I like the way that looks. Man, that's cool. I'm probably gonna have the same freak out about doing the next page. Like, where do I go from here? Alright, let's get the screen tones. Let's see, we need 10% black. Those. You know what? And do we need to erase? Let's erase a little bit. I want it to be a little messy. That's the only place I really needed them. I guess let's... I wonder if it's going to look weird on this guy. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, and I like how these symbols are kind of the way I did it, where they're just starting off right here, and then they do get more intricate as it goes, which was not necessarily intentional. Again, this is I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. Let's put some let's go back to this True Grit. Let's go to the ink fader. Let's make it white. I've been adding this to these large areas of black because I want it to look kind of crusty. Actually, here, let's cut this area here. You know what I'm figuring out. Using this sort of tool almost. Yeah. Almost makes it look like they're glowing. Nice. All right. Oh, we got one more thing. What are we at? Hour and a half. We're good. We got one more thing. Let's move this to the top. Gotta put our page number in. Page 4. Top. There we go. We need 2 layers. That top one is gonna be black. Let's get rid of this. There we go. Did that on the wrong layer. Did I? Maybe I didn't. I guess I didn't. And then we're making this. White. I can't even see what I'm doing because there we go. And we got a page 4. Page 4 is done. Great. Cool. Who knows where this is going? Again, probably going to say that every single time. I have no idea. But if you checked out this video, thanks so much. If you checked out the live stream, thank you so much. And until next time, I'm probably gonna shoot tomorrow. Probably gonna stream the next page tomorrow. And probably be around the same time. Right, 12:30 to 1 o'clock, something like that. All right. Later.